Good morning, good evening, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. The last we left, we had a most intriguing mystery. After God kicked out Adam and Eve from the garden, he made them garments of skins. We said that was rather peculiar. But as we turn to chapter 4, we may start to uncover some reasons for that. So we start off with Adam and Eve having just freshly been kicked out of the Garden of Eve, and Eve just receiving her name. And here we go, chapter 4. Now the man knew his wife Eve, and she conceived and bore Cain, saying, I have gained a male child with the help of the Lord. She then bore his brother Abel. Abel became a keeper of sheep, and Cain became a tiller of soil. In the course of time, Cain brought an offering to the Lord from the fruit of the soil, and Abel, for his part, brought the choicest of the firstlings of his flock. The Lord paid heed to Abel and his offering, but to Cain and his offering he paid no heed. Cain was much distressed and his face full. And the Lord said to Cain, Why are you distressed, and why is your face fallen? Surely if you do right, there is uplift. But if you do not do right, sin couches at the door. Its urge toward you, yet you can be its master. Cain said to his brother Abel, although the precise meaning of the verse is uncertain, when they were in the field, Cain set upon his brother and killed him. The Lord said to Cain, Where is your brother Abel? He said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And then he said, What have you done? Hark, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Therefore you shall be more cursed than the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. If you till the soil, it shall no longer yield its strength to you. You shall become a ceaseless wanderer on the earth. Cain said to the Lord, My punishment is too great to bear. Since you have banished me this day from the soil, and I must avoid your presence and become a restless wanderer on the earth, anyone who meets me may kill me. And the Lord said to him, I promise, if anyone kills Cain, sevenfold vengeance shall be taken upon him. And the Lord put a mark on Cain, lest anyone who meet him should kill him. Cain left the presence of the Lord and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bore Enoch. And he then founded a city and named the city after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Irad, and Irad brought Mehujael. And Mehujael begot Methuselah, and Methuselah begot Lamech. And Lamech took to himself two wives. The name of one was Adah, the name of the other was Zillah. Adah bore Jabal. He was the ancestor of those who dwell in tents amidst herds. And the name of his brother was Jubal. He was the ancestor of all who played the lyre and the pipe. As for Zillah, she bore Tubal-Cain, who forged all implements of copper and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And Lamech said to his wives, Adillah and Zillah, hear my voice. O wives of Lamech, give ear to my speech. I have slain a man for wounding me, and a lad for bruising me. If Cain is avenged sevenfold, then Lamech is 77-fold. Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth, meaning, God has provided for me, also established for me, another offspring in place of Abel, for Cain had killed him. And to Seth in turn a son was born, and he named him Enosh. And it was then that men began to invoke the Lord by name. That's chapter 4. rather famous bit of the Bible where Cain sets upon his brother and murders him. But there's a lot more to unpack in this episode, shall we say. One of the interesting things is that Cain is able to leave the presence of the Lord. We're taught God is omnipresent, is everywhere. But this whole idea seems to prove the opposite. Now, the other interesting thing is Cain finds himself a wife. This makes no sense. Now, some people have interpreted it that Adam and Eve had a daughter, and that Cain and Abel were fighting over that daughter. But this doesn't seem likely. There is a pretty significant taboo against incest in most cultures. Half sister, yeah, open game on that. But a full sister, no. That's frowned upon almost universally. Not completely, but almost universally. But the interesting thing is that when Cain is kicked out, he goes and founds a city. You don't build a city for yourself and your wife. There's obviously other people involved. And this is where I think the importance of God making skins for the people comes in handy to interpret it. Before, when they were in the Garden of Eden, they were spiritual beings, just like the angels and the snake and the reptiles and all that sort of thing that were there. But by becoming physical creatures, the skin that God made for them was not a blessing. It was a punishment. You are now mortal. You will now dwell amongst other people, and, when something happens, you're going to hurt them. Because remember, Lamech said that he killed a lad for bruising him. So at this point, it's obvious people can be injured and not killed, which wasn't a factor from before. The other interesting thing, and this has very dark implications, but if you'll remember, Cain brought an offering to the Lord from the fruit of the soil. In other words, fruits, vegetables, all those wonderful things, and even the most hardcore carnivore is going to enjoy a salad once in a while. Abel brought the choicest of the firstlings of his flock. Now, obviously, this is some sort of sacrifice ritual, and a sacrifice always involves a meal, whether it's a salad, whether it's a firstling, or whether it's a human. Now, God shows a clear preference here. He's not interested in the fruit and vegetables. He wants that choicest firstling, and this is something that's repeated quite often in the Bible. God wants an unblemished heifer and perfect things, and he enjoys the smell of the sacrifice. That's his part. So the priests and stuff like that would get the bones and all that sort of stuff, and God would enjoy the smell. Why is the Old Testament Genesis God so interested in meat? I mean, fruit is tasty. Give me an apple. I'll eat that thing right. Not a Granny Smith, not fond of them, but an apple is still darn tasty. And it's the fruit of God's own handiwork. The animals were created by God in both Genesis chapter 1 and Genesis chapter 2. They were purposely put together by him. But God only seems to want the meat. That's what attracts the Lord. And then we can wander on into the punishment. Cain is punished, but in the end winds up having a wife and two wives, in fact. Lamech has two wives. Cain has one wife. That's his punishment, to get married. And he must leave the presence of the Lord, but he's pretty busy for someone who's cursed and not allowed to till the earth. It's just very weird. It's like Cain's a vegetarian, and he's being punished for being a vegetarian by not being allowed to farm. So he makes a city instead. how quickly do you think you could fill a city? Even if the city is a tent city, made from animal hides and bones, let's assume they don't have any sort of advanced technology, and we don't know of any city named Enoch. That being said, we don't know everything in the archaeological record just yet. The last thing I want to address, once in a long while, and this has mostly gone away, you'll hear an expression that says, "We are all children of Cain." And at the very end of chapter 4, it specifically says, Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and named him Seth. This is where things become a little complicated because these genealogical records, I'm going to speed through a couple of them when they come up, but Seth is clearly the ancestor of all of us. But Cain has his brother Jabal, who is the ancestor of those who dwell in tents and amidst herds. Well, people who dwell in tents and herd livestock are as ancient as at least 15,000 years ago, and if not more recent. But that's still a huge amount of people to be considering. And his brother Jubal, the ancestor of all who play the lyre and the pipe. To this day, we have musicians. I say this because this is going to come back as a what if in the chapters dealing with Noah. We're not going to get there yet. After this little listing of Lamech saying that he has killed a man and a boy, and thus his punishment is 7 times what his grandfather received, the Bible doesn't really care about Cain's line. It just drops it. It moves on to Adam's line, which is going to be a fun one. We're going to go through that one next. But yeah, that's the tale of Enoch, and we introduce Seth onto the stage, who's going to be our very next contestant on How Does Our Ancestry Go? This, like I said, this chapter is very important for setting the stage of everything that happens. You now have the line of Cain and the line of Seth. And Seth, as we know, is a pretty common name in the ancient world. There's some gods that are named Seth, Set if you want, but Set and Seth are not as far apart to really distinguish them as as separate words. The funny thing is, we're on chapter 4. These chapters are about a page each. But if you listen to people, you would think they were pages and the Bible dwells on them. But it doesn't. It's all very compact. This is practically an outline. The closest thing I can relate it to would be J.R.R. Tolkien's The Silmarillion, where it basically passes over the whole Lord of the Rings series in about a page, because the book is so vast in scope, it doesn't have time to dwell on that. Anything not here in the canon version of the Bible would be considered, an interpretation, a guess. There is Apocrypha, which is books outside the Bible devoted to it, but they're not considered canon. And I know with Marvel and Star Wars and Star Trek and stuff like that, we're more aware of canon today than we were. But certain books were recognized as being part of the Bible, but there are books that deal specifically with Adam. There's the Apocalypse of Adam, which is just basically how he ends his life. The Book of Jubilees, which really goes into a lot more detail about people like Enoch, who we're about to meet, and other people like him. But they weren't official, so it's kind of like fan fiction written after the fact. No matter what, that's chapter 4. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to buy the merchandise, which is the books listed down below, and we hope you have a fantastic day.